sorry, kid, I'm not telling you nothing. I fought my way here. You figure it out.
The gatekeeping is
So,
crazy,
I
bro.
did get those
Drop
too.
some names, Justin.
Send this to your grandma. She's dying. And then
That's right, dude. That's exactly what I thought he was gonna say.
do you guys get the messages from like fake Chinese women?
Yes.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. All
I'm not that
time,
lucky.
every day.
I gotta set my game up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBR podcast. This week, we are down a regular member, but plus a guest. Just Interrogations we have with us this week. We're going to be getting to know him.
Howdy.
All of you will get to know him. And we have some more interesting stuff later on down the line. But right off the bat, I just want to throw it over to Justin. What do you do, man? What do you do? Tell us all about it.
So, I am a long-form true crime content creator. Going by the name, Just Interrogations. I mainly focus on criminal interrogations, sort of analyzing them, breaking them down, pointing out certain techniques that the detectives use, the intended effect, how it ends up playing out. Sort of not quite translating, but just sort of making what's going on a little more understandable, a little more digestible, and just sort of covering cases in general. I am more geared towards the kind of people that, I mean, you can sit down and watch it, but it's more like, you know, on a road trip, at work, while you're doing chores, while you're doing whatever. A lot of my people say like, oh, you're my favorite to listen to while I'm going to sleep, or, you know, I'm running errands or whatever. So if you're into that, like true crime and analytical, psychological stuff, but also like I need to go grocery shopping and I want to throw an earbud in, that's kind of my niche that I aim for. Because it's like my videos are an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
Yeah,
So
that's
slash
cool.
podcast slash whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you
Might
want
as
some
well be a
stuff to just kind
podcast
of
at that
throw
point,
on,
yeah.
Yeah.
if lo-fi hip hop beats to study to has gotten old and you're looking for something new, I can fill that slot.
For sure.
See, yeah, I definitely love that type of content. That ones that like maybe you're not necessarily paying so much attention to the visuals, but just like maybe like the voice is super like relaxing
Yeah.
or nice, and it's just like maybe
Mm.
like an audiobook almost in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Like,
like
that's-
B-side brain kind of stuff. Keep the
Yeah.
other half
Go for it,
occupied
too.
while you focus on the important thing over here. Yeah, me too. That's why I started it. I'm like, that's the thing.
Like I listen to YouTube way more than I watch YouTube.
Oh, same. Yeah.
Hands
Oh
down.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
famous saying
yeah,
is like
it's-
you'd
it's
rather have
like-
a listener than a watcher. That's like what people tell you that have been doing it for a long time. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
consistent occupant of my second monitor. Is something going on
Oh,
yeah.
on YouTube?
Yeah.
I'm doing the main thing over here. That's what
Yeah.
it's for, pretty much.
Yeah.
definitely so.
It's kind of
Or maybe
weird
put
that
me on there. Who knows?
Like, despite editing videos for hours and hours and hours on end, there are a lot of people that just listen in and they just don't even see anything.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah,
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
Yep.
None of the effort,
Yep.
Yeah.
none of the
Yeah.
painstaking detail.
None of the crashes.
Yep.
No.
The subtitles that took forever.
Oh my
and
gosh,
the
dude.
fine detail.
I stopped
that-
doing them. I stopped doing subtitles a long time ago.
Yeah.
we
Because-
don't get
It wasn't
Move
worth
past
it. But yeah,
No.
it was not
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, I recently like outsourced them, and I think it's one of the best decisions that I made. I still
Yeah.
go through and do a couple passes, but yeah, compared to doing it all from scratch,
Whoa.
especially if it's second monitor
Whoa,
stuff,
yeah.
it's not even
Well,
getting
they do
seen.
AI subtitles now, but they're pretty
Yeah.
hit and miss.
They do, yeah. But
Yeah, they can be real iffy.
Mine are-
depending on-
mine are not.
I'll get into it in a little bit, but yeah, my latest video was a whole nightmare with that whole thing. But
So you got to go back
yeah,
in and rewrite
it's
it
worth
anyway.
it, I think.
yeah. Because it'll give like a pass
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
and half of it'll be wrong, and you just got to go make the subtitles yourself anyway.
Yes.
I've experienced
Yeah.
that so much.
Yeah, you're never gonna save yourself 100%. Not if you have
No.
that standard of quality that you're looking for.
Not if you give a shit.
Yeah, not if you actually care.
If you want to be decent, you got to go
I've
through.
seen some
And
channels who don't care. The subtitles are totally wrong, and they just
plenty,
they
there's
don't
plenty
even
that'll
care.
just run it through Premiere one time and just be close enough.
yeah.
But
I
I've
hate
always said, and like
I
I've
hate
seen
it
a
so
lot of
much.
comments though from people who are saying like, I'm hard of hearing or I'm completely deaf, and the YouTube subtitles I can figure it out, but it's a nightmare as far as actually understanding like
Yeah.
context and inference and things
Yeah.
like that. So people appreciate it, they really do. And even people that aren't, like I myself, I watch Netflix with subtitles and it irks me
Oh, me
when they're
too.
like noticeably off. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you're Netflix. Why
Yeah.
can
You
you
are a
not
company, brother.
do this? Like, what's the deal?
I get irritated when they shorten it, like where it's a really long sentence and they're like, "Here's the gist." in the subtitles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
they-
need
they do
closed
that a lot,
captions. That's
yeah.
why. That'll be
Yeah.
exact. Closed captions will be exact for you.
I hate
Yeah.
when
yeah.
the subtitles give spoilers.
Dude,
When it's
yes.
like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not done and it hasn't happened yet. And
Yes.
you're like, and you know,
Yeah.
like 2 seconds before it happens, it robs.
Yep.
It robs
Yeah, in
you.
parentheses, like shoots Karen, and you're like, yeah, it totally ruins the. I totally get that, and that's another thing. It's just little aspects like that. They're a pain and they take forever, but people notice like that little stuff. They appreciate it.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, the
Justin, I actually
timing.
had so we kind of touched on it briefly in terms of like channels kind of not really caring or almost in a way just hopping on a trend and just taking
Oh
advantage
yeah.
of it and not really putting in the passion and putting in the effort.
Mhm.
I actually had a question kind of in that vein. So
Sure.
I feel like people like if people like were to just to quickly umbrella what your channel might be, people might describe it as something like JCS inspired. Have you heard that term before?
Oh, yes, and it's funny because when I started the channel, I've always described it as JCS inspired, and I do
Hmm.
mean that literally because he's sort of the goat of the true crime content that
Oh, yeah.
I'm into.
Yeah,
You know,
same.
like
Interrogations,
that's
especially.
I've-
I've always like been tangentially interested in true crime and would watch it occasionally, but it wasn't really like my bag until JCS came along and started doing that real in-depth psychological
Yeah.
look at that stuff specifically, and I was super down with that.
Mhm.
So JCS inspired really is like textbook definition of the kind of content that I make, but at this point with my last couple of videos as it's sort of grown and evolved, it is much less similar to JCS videos
Yes.
than my first ones were,
Yes.
to the point where it's kind of not even that apt of a descriptor anymore. And
I
I've
was
had people say, like, it's not even really that JCS inspired. Like, and most people mean well, saying, like, you're your own thing. You don't
Yeah,
need that.
Yeah.
But then my counter is JCS inspired at this stage isn't even really a descriptor anymore as much as it is its own genre.
Yeah.
So I still
Yeah.
put
Yeah,
JCS
yeah.
inspired because to most people that just translates to interrogation, breakdown, and analysis. But
sure.
when every character is precious, you got to save room.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
JCS
Yeah.
inspired is a better way to tell people what it is versus a long thing. So
Sometimes
that's
what
most of
people
the reason
want.
why I still put it there.
So
Sometimes people
actually,
just say, "Hey, I like this guy. I want more." shit like
exactly.
this."
Yeah,
There
JCS
you go.
inspired is a good way to sort of like just find it. It brings
Sometimes,
up a
yeah.
lot of people like myself.
So kind of going off of that a little bit, I definitely would say like yes, like JCS inspired is probably the quick, like maybe snappy way to describe what your channel
It's
might
what
be, what your
YouTube
content might be.
recommends. That's
Sure.
their recommended, like, be found with this term kind of thing.
Sure. So I do feel like there are channels that are purely like JCS inspired, where it's just like
Right.
the only thing they're bringing to the table is they're just dissecting interrogations, but they're not
Doing
they're not
JCS,
taking it to the
basically.
next level. They're not elevating it. They're not bringing anything new. But when
It's
I
a
watch
clone.
your channel, basically it's a clone. But when I watch your
Yeah.
channel, Justin, I feel like you're bringing a personality, you're bringing a face to the channel. You're actually like
Thank you.
trying to almost separate it a little bit from just being
Yeah.
purely clone territory. So with
Yeah.
those kind of aspects in mind, I'm curious, would you consider yourself, or I guess you've already considered yourself to be somewhat JCS inspired, but um, do you feel like maybe you are kind of carving a path that's making you a little bit different? Maybe like JCS inspired with an asterisk? Because I feel like yours is inspired, but this personality you're bringing, you're not a faceless channel at all. You're not just
Yeah.
looking into interrogations. Like, do you think you might be a little bit different, like JCS and with an asterisk, sort of?
So, I mean, at this point, yes. I don't know about carving a path and all of that, but I know that like when I started, genuinely the reasoning behind it was I was watching obviously JCS like themselves, however many people it is, but I was also watching pretty much the one-to-one copies that were popping up at the time. Not even copies. They are like they do have their own thing a little bit, but just much more formulaic and similar to JCS, like the Stranger Stories, and I mean they're still big, they're still around, and they're huge, good channels. But that's what inspired me to start, and I was aiming to do a pretty much not even a one-to-one because I knew I wasn't that good, but I was trying to pretty much emulate it with my own case and my own input. And those were the only variables. Everything else I was trying to do pretty much just like the big channels that I watched and enjoyed. Um, and if you go back and watch my very first video, it's like that. There's not hardly any personality to it because I'm not on camera. It's every pause is just text on screen with a voiceover. And I'm even like, I'm doing the most serious voice possible about how
Yeah,
the suspect
yeah,
is
yeah.
now
YouTuber
where,
accent,
and like
the
I'm doing
YouTuber
all
accent,
of that.
yeah.
I'm doing like the body
YouTuber
language shit.
accent.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm doing all of it. And it like and I'm happy and I'm very fortunate because that was what ended up catching on at first and getting the channel off the ground. But as I've gone along now, it's certainly a far cry from those videos in a traditional JCS like offshoot like a lot of channels still do. And I get why they do it. And the reason I did it is because it works. Like
And they
people who
like
are
it.
into this stuff, even if
Yeah.
it's a 1-to-1 and the only thing that they're bringing is a new case, for a lot of people, that's enough. So that's why I was like, if I can make something even close to this and, use a format that's close. And as long as I can get just near where they
Yeah.
are and do a case that hasn't been done to death, I think I'll do all right. Like, I think people will watch it. And I know that from a place of like looking at the numbers and the channels that were popping up, and because I would watch it. Like, I've watched crappy channels that just covered a new case that I liked in the same style as someone good and been like, yeah, that's enough for me. That's good monitor 2 entertainment. That's fine.
Yeah.
And
I wanna
that's
say that
kind
you hit 100K really quickly, didn't you? It was
Yeah, you've
less
only
than a
got
year,
10
yeah.
videos
It was
out, right?
What?
Woo!
less than a year. I just put out my 8th. This is my 8th video
eighth,
that
yeah.
I just
Yeah.
Bro.
8
Yeah.
videos and hit
incredible.
100K.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's
It was
pretty incredible.
unheard of. It's
It was
incredible.
wild. It's been a ride. But I think one thing that sort of came out of that was I had to make the leap from like it's hard to describe. Like, I remember my attitude from when I first started. I told myself to be very realistic and set very realistic expectations. So my genuine goal when I started out was like, I don't think this is gonna like blow up and be a huge deal. If I get a couple thousand subscribers in the first year or so,
Yeah.
I'll be pretty happy with that. And I meant it. Of course, like anyone in your heart of hearts, you're like, I hope I'm a thing and this blows up and it's amazing.
Of course.
But I really didn't think that was going to happen. And for a while, it really didn't happen. Pretty much the first month or so, I would get like 4 or 5 views a
Nothing
day
happens in the first
and
month.
Yep.
occasionally a comment. But again, I still remember being stoked about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, with this, I'm on pace. I think if I can hold this, as more videos come out, it'll compound and get better and better. And
Definitely.
even at this rate, the fact that, the couple people that have seen it and left a comment seem to like it, I'm getting views on a consistent basis every day. I get 5 or 6 more. Like, I was cool with it because I didn't really have a frame of reference. Like, I have had channels in the past, but the only one that ever was intended to be somewhat public facing and wasn't just me and my friends dicking around to show our other friends at school.
Yeah.
Was I actually used to have a drum cover channel, which has been long gone for a while, but
wow.
I'm a drummer and I used to do that. And the novelty of just like this awkward, occasionally funny fat kid playing like death metal on the drums was enough to get me like, I think I had like 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers or something.
I can't imagine.
Which again,
you
I
as the
remember being
fat kid.
super stoked about.
Yeah.
But it was so I didn't have a frame of reference for like actual what YouTube success was. I didn't have a
Sure.
particular benchmark I was really aiming for or familiar with. But yeah, the first month it just sort of trickled in like that, and I was happy. And then I don't know what kicked it off, but one day I remember, even from the beginning, I've always like anally checked my studio app and refreshed a couple times and
Yeah.
It's at
waited
least
for the
10
happy
times a day.
numbers.
Everybody
and-
does
Oh,
that. Yeah, everybody
God,
does
yeah.
that.
It's-
I've had
it's
to delete the
every
app
moment.
several
It's
times.
It's a bad mistress.
I've not
Yeah,
deleted it like 10
it's-
times. Just
The
so I wouldn't
numbers,
on.
man. I
Yeah.
need to see number go up.
Yeah.
But even
Literally,
back then, I
yeah.
was like,
Especially
that.
now with the
It
earn
starts pretty
tab.
quick.
Oh my
refresh it, like,
gosh, dude.
20
Yes.
times a day.
Yeah,
No,
it's,
I've-
it's nuts.
I've tried to make a ritual of myself when I upload a video. I close YouTube
you
Studio
have
and I
to.
don't check it
You
for a
have to.
day
You have to.
or
yes,
2.
I'm
like,
getting
yeah.
better at that.
You have to.
because
Like,
because
deliberate-
I the first
can't.
like day or two,
It doesn't
it's just,
matter.
like
No, it doesn't even matter for the performance.
It doesn't
actually.
matter.
Like
No,
seriously,
no.
at
Yeah.
all. Oh.
The
Yeah, I
performance
do
could
it
change
deliberately, and it's
wildly
almost
after a couple
becoming like
days.
superstitious. Now it's starting to feel like it's bad luck to
No,
watch it too
yeah,
much.
I
so
literally
almost
feel that,
need
though.
to.
No, honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that.
So
Yeah.
it's helping to motivate me to do that. So I'm almost tricking myself into like self care. But hey,
Literally.
however you
Whatever
get there,
works.
I
Whatever works,
suppose
though,
is
bro. Whatever works.
Yeah.
better than nothing. But
Tricking
yeah, so
myself
I
into
remember
self-care.
I was compulsively checking and refreshing, and like all of a sudden I remember it was probably less than an hour since I had looked the last time at my phone, and I had gotten something like 2,000 views or whatever. So you get that super satisfying like right angle in studio in the line
yeah,
graph,
yeah.
and especially like that first hit, it blew my mind, and I was super psyched about it. And that went on pretty much all that day. I think I ended the day with somewhere around like 40K views,
Nice.
Nice, yeah.
which again I was super amped about. But the next day I got to
Oh.
experience, like I woke up to my very first limited ads restriction.
No,
Because of
no,
course,
no.
when I uploaded it, I didn't like flag it for anything or like or no, I wasn't even monetized when I uploaded it. So that's right. So what happened was it wasn't that quick. I remember I like that day, I forgot about this part. I qualified for monetization and I filled it out, and it got completed by that night. And then literally the next day I woke up after being monetized. I still made like ultimately I think 100 some bucks in the period between when monetization went through and I got hit. But yeah, I got hit with limited ads. And of course, because I didn't know the process, I just immediately asked for a review. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, and if you've seen that video, obviously, like it's not gonna. And if I had known, maybe there is a chance that I could have cut out enough to squeak it, but it would be half the interrogation. So like there wasn't really any recourse. It wasn't that big of a like mess up, but it just added to the anxiety of like I was riding so high and then
Yep,
it got slammed. And
yep.
of course you start reading the guidelines and trying to ask the abyss black hole that is supporter or the YouTube support, like what's going on, and they're just going to tell you it doesn't affect performance. It
But it
just
like
means
obviously
that
does.
But it
Yeah,
totally does.
yeah.
You can
Bullshit.
it's
Like,
another
obviously
right angle.
does.
It was a
See
very
the
clear drop
Yes.
off. Like it
Dude,
literally looked like
yeah.
a building. It was this, and then this.
Yes.
And they
I
were
got
just
age
like, yeah, it
restricted
doesn't.
about 2 weeks ago. It killed my whole performance for at least a couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't care what they say, it bleeds into other stuff.
It does.
affects other
It
stuff.
affects your
too.
channel.
It goes
It affects your
everywhere.
channel. It does. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, but
It
so
really
like
does.
it was this weird position of like just I was a new channel. I had one video and it did super good and then did super bad and got hit, and I was back, like I was still doing better than before, but compared to, like I said, the 30 or 40K, I think the next day I got like a couple hundred.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
like and so I was in this emotionally, I didn't know how to feel, because I was like, I feel like an asshole being disappointed in that, because 2 days ago I was stoked about like 7.
Yes.
So now that I'm
Thus
getting
the
like
cycle starts.
500,
Yep.
Yeah.
I should be exactly the cycle of am I being ungrateful?
Yes.
Am I
It happens all the
When?
time now where like I'll hit, I don't know, if a video for me now hits 50,000 views, I'm like, oh dude, that kind of sucks. But then take
Right?
it 2 years ago and I would have bit your arm off for 50.
Yeah,
Literally,
dude.
I would nod your
Yeah,
arm
exactly.
off. Yeah. I
And-
agree.
It's so weird, and it's so subjective against yourself. It's really
Yes,
hard.
yes.
It's because you always
Decide
wanna
how
see
to
the green
feel.
arrows. You always want to see those green arrows.
It's
but
a
then, of
drug.
course-
Yeah.
It's a drug.
But then,
Dude,
if
yeah, I've
you
been
perform the
grade
same, then
nothing.
it's-
We've talked
Yeah, it's a
many
bummer.
times in this group about how it's a drug. Like
It
you
is.
get the
Yes.
high.
It
It was
was
engineered
engineered
to be that way too. So
YouTube
you
requires
uploading.
constant
Yeah.
growth, and even if you plateau, in
Yeah.
the eyes of
It's
YouTube,
not enough.
that's not good.
Yeah,
No.
there's no such
Yeah.
thing as like sitting still. It's either
No.
forward or backward.
Yeah,
And
it's-
and I'm learning that the hard way. But yeah, you're
Especially
either
because-
you're either growing or you're dying.
There's always
Yes.
people that are there to take your place. That's what I feel like all the time.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
I'm not
There are.
growing, someone's going to be growing faster than me, and they'll overtake me. They'll take
Yeah.
my spot. Because
Yeah.
There
it's
absolutely
such
are.
a saturated market. People would bite hands off to be where I am.
I was gonna
and
say
they
they bite
won't
your arm
take-
off.
They will
Yeah,
take it
yeah.
if I let them. So, and I'm sure for the rest of you guys, if you're not growing, you are you're losing.
Yeah. And you gotta be. I like I said, I learned that the hard way. Yeah, I haven't posted this latest video that I put up. Before that, the last one that I posted was like 7, almost 8 months ago. And it's just been life. But because of that, I
it's
knew
just
I was
life.
getting slammed.
Well,
And
let me ask,
sure enough, yeah.
are you going to make YouTube a full-time thing? Are you gonna really like
Yes.
buckle
So
down and
So it is at this point. It's just the past months have been a menagerie of not all necessarily bad, but just occupying life stuff.
Sure.
And I knew coming back to it once I finally got this project out that it wasn't going to do awesome. It is a full-time job at this point. I was fortunate enough when I started that I had a job that was very conducive to sort of doing YouTube. So I didn't have to jump in with both feet right off the bat. Like I was able to do both. I worked at a vape store and
Mhm.
they had no problem as long as like I still took care of customers and didn't burn the place down and didn't rob them, that I could just chill in the back room whenever it was slow and be on my laptop and just kind of do whatever. And
That's perfect.
initially, I would just take my Xbox controller and stream games from home in the downtime. But now I had something a little more productive that I could do. Because like my laptop was my workstation. Like I didn't have like a good one at home. It was like everything was on there already anyway. So short of like filming and recording, I could edit, I could write, I could research, I could do all of that stuff at work. So I didn't have to fully commit like that right off the bat. But around the beginning of this year, like mid-January, I finally like took the leap of just doing this full time because
Awesome.
I worked my
Good shit.
schedule back. And honestly, I'm still technically employed there. Every now and then I'll pick up a shift just like to get out of the house and see other human beings and interact and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
the cat
about
food.
it. Like especially starting the way I did once I sorted out the monetization and everything. It like I love that job, but comparatively, this is far and away the best career that someone with my qualifications could be in at the moment. And it just made more sense to designate as much time and resources and brain power and energy and focus to that as opposed to selling vape stuff. But like I still represent all day, but it's just not my career path at the moment.
I've got a
no,
question
eventually
for
you hit
you.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
Well,
a
it just
question.
it was the right thing. Yeah, shoot.
So obviously you've made 8 videos now, and I think I can hopefully speak for all of the rest of us when I say one of the most difficult things about starting YouTube is that when you begin creating shite, basically. I think Jared might be one of the only exceptions in
Yeah.
terms of when he made his Brugly channel, it was like you kind of hit the ground running. But you
Yeah.
have made channels in the past that were just kind of like so-so.
Yeah.
And it took me, I mean, God, like if I look back at my old iceberg videos, my audience loves
can't.
them. And I love some of them, but I don't like the older the video is, the more likely it is that I hate it. But you have turned from a novice to someone who could do this as a career in 8 videos. That is kind of insane. How have you moved so fast from those early videos, to now? I've got to assume that you don't despise your early work because there is I mean, you don't
not
even
that
have
much
an
of
out
it.
of 10.
Yeah,
You
there's
don't
not
even
much
have an
early
out of
work.
10.
It's
Like,
just
you know,
work.
All of us, we always get like a 6 or a 5 or a 3. You just get out of 8.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
I don't
think
even
of
get
that.
I
out of
upload
10
12
good.
videos a month, and you have like 8. So
Yeah.
that's like that's crazy.
How does that work?
Well, so I've always said this from the get-go. I got very lucky when I started, and ironically enough, it's because of getting demonetized the way I did, getting that limited ad strike. Because what happened, and sort of wrapping back into that story, what happened with that was when I got hit and I requested that review right away, obviously it got declined, and I was told, like, that's just it now. That's the performance. That's what you're going to have. There's nothing that can be done.
That's how it goes.
And I panicked and didn't know what to do. So genuinely, what I did was I wrote up like the ones that I'm all too familiar with now, just a blast email with like non-specific pronouns of like, hey man, I'm a big fan of your channel and would love to and I sent it to everyone that I watched. And I don't know, like I've asked a couple of them, and the reasoning was I got a few answers. I got, like, I think out of the first one I sent, maybe 3 or 4 people replied. But fortunately, they're pretty big creators in the space. One of them was Explore With Us. One of them was Morbid Curiosity, who's still a really good friend to this day. Misery Machine, True Red Crime. Some of these people responded to me and invited me to a server and just said, hey, if you want to come hang out, we'll at least talk to you and sort of walk you through what's going on, because they knew what it was like to just be left hanging by YouTube. And having just started off, and literally because of the position I was in, with it being the first video, and within the first like month of kind of starting, I had no anything. I had no knowledge of really what the process was behind the scenes.
There's no guidebook, and there's not enough people who do it for there to be like a Reddit page or a wiki.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I
career
did.
YouTubers. There's just
Very
not enough.
few.
Yeah,
Maybe we need to be the
and there's
change
even
we want
less
to
who are
see.
who are willing to share it and explain it and tell you like what they did, because normally the process of trial and error, and I have noticed it seems to be getting a little better, and just being told about how it was, it seems to be getting better.
Sort
But
of.
still, yeah, to
Partially.
find someone, and honestly, I did get those replies too, of people being like, sorry kid, I'm not telling you nothing, I fought my way here, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we can
Shitty.
talk.
The
Who-
gatekeeping
So
is
like
crazy,
I
bro.
did get those
Drop
too.
some names, Justin.
Yeah, I did get those, but it, like, I was fortunate enough to just get the nice ones also. And that's why, I've always asked anyone, like Kyle, we were talking about it a little bit before we came on, but just whenever someone asks advice for how to get into it, and like YouTube as a career, or even just as a hobby, how to do well on the platform, my first advice is always network, make friends, collab, ask for help, reach out. Because if I didn't do that, I would have given up. Like it would have,
Yeah.
to have just gotten a brief taste and then gotten smacked down and had no recourse or idea of like what to do. Like, it was super disheartening.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
it was like the carrot got dangled and then gone, and I just didn't know what to do. So fortunately, I got invited there, and ever since I've been continuing to reach out and connect with people, and both ask for help, ask for perspective and feedback, but also, as I've developed my own, been eager to offer it and try to help other people and sort of give it back, because I wouldn't be here without that sort of stuff. And I think
you got
as
into
a
our Discord
creator,
at some point. I don't even remember when or how, but
yeah, it's been a minute. It's
Yeah.
I think I can't I think we did TCG's thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
one
and I
time,
think
we
I
did the
like
invited you
forever
actually.
ago,
Yeah.
and we talked
Yeah.
after that, and eventually I got in here. But that's what I mean, like communities like the one that we were in and the one that I got invited to, and like they can be cliquey maybe, but a lot of them are pretty open and nice, because if you're going to start something of that nature, you're kind of willing to share and like
Yeah.
help to begin with, otherwise you wouldn't do it. So
And
it
it's not
typically
like there's
tends to be
an
like, yours is awesome. The one that's my favorite one, because it is so chill and everyone is so helpful and everyone is on like such different levels, and like there's no ego, and
well,
Yeah.
and
you
it's
know, and
not
when
like
there is,
there's
it
a
gets
set
nipped.
amount of YouTube videos that people will watch. Everyone always wants more videos to watch, so it's not like you're in
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Like I know
Well, that's
for
what I
me,
mean. Yeah,
I'm always
we can all
looking for
be.
more shit to add to my watch later because
Yeah,
I always want something in
there's
the
plenty of
background.
room.
Yeah, there's plenty of
Yeah,
room.
it's
It's not
and
like a
especially
competition
like in
where
this niche,
yeah.
there's plenty of crime and spooky
Mhm.
shit. Like, why be a jerk about it and try to
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
Why
like
gatekeep.
claim it?
Why
Just-
gatekeep, bro?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Why?
and
There is a
and
weird
s-
amount of gatekeeping stuff.
No,
like,
there
I
really
find,
is. Yeah.
Like,
There is.
it's I've never really understood it. Like,
genres that are worse, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Nah,
think
people
it's
always
a nice
want
part of
more
the deal.
videos. People aren't going to be like, nah, I've seen enough videos today. I'm cool.
Yeah,
Everyone
I've been
wants more
scared
videos.
before. I'm all right.
No,
Like,
no,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
There's plenty of fish in the sea, and
Plenty
that's
of
why I
watch
don't get the
hours to go
attitude. But
around.
yeah, and but for whatever reason, some people are just like that, and that's fine. Do you? There's plenty of people who are like that and have huge channels and make it work. So obviously, that's not the only way to succeed, but that's how I've managed to do it so far. So that's what I tell people to do,
Yeah.
because I've seen it work. But yeah, so it's because of that, I've been very fortunate to have, especially early on, I just met some people who have put in the time and have put in the trial and error and have been through the pitfalls and have gotten slammed a million times harder than I have. Because, if my biggest hurdle has been a demonetized video,
Wait until your
I think
first
I'm
full
okay.
channel-wide demonetization.
Yeah, we're trying to get
Exactly.
hacked.
I haven't had to deal
Yeah.
with that. I haven't had to, fingers crossed, knock on fake wood, it's not going to happen. But so I know that comparatively to a lot of people, like I didn't grind my way up as much. I managed to avoid a lot of those, and I'm super grateful for it. So I shout people out whenever I can, because obviously I still see it happen all the time. Like you said, people getting hit or swaths of videos just that have been fined for years randomly getting either hurting your channel or getting taken down, or people's entire careers and revenue streams just getting wiped out on a whim because YouTube had a bad morning.
No,
So
and it's only
just,
because of networking that I got my channel back in the first place.
Yeah.
It was just
Honestly,
because
yeah.
of knowing cool people
Yeah.
who were able to help me out.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
YouTube's not going to do it. You can't
No.
cry to them and expect anything to happen. You got to
don't
just
care.
reach out and
Honestly,
find, hopefully you have a big Twitter following. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed.
That's why
Even
I
that
made my
won't do
Twitter at the
anything
beginning
anymore.
was because my channel got
Yeah.
hacked and I had like 10K subs and I had to like spam at Team YouTube 500 times to get them to even answer me. Right? If I didn't
But even
answer,
now
I would've
they
got my channel
figured
back.
that out, and at Team YouTube is just fully automatized.
That's what I
now.
figured. I figured
Yeah.
they had
It's
to
the same set
echelon at some
responses
point.
every time.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just another avenue. You need to afford yourself as many avenues as possible
Oh,
to
yeah.
hopefully get a hold of someone. And stuff like that is good for it. Like Twitter is the one that I don't have, and everyone tells me I need it, and I probably will at some point, just so I have it.
I
But
would.
I have all the other
recommend
ones.
it.
Yeah.
I have like
think-
Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and whatever, and most of it's just reposts. But like I do have them, so it's just
Twitter
another
is really where the whole
potential-
angry mob mentality is at. So that's the kind of the way you
Yeah,
want.
it's
Yeah, what's my
dude.
most
Every
recent
time
video
I've
for
gotten
that?
every time I'm getting the elevator pitch for Twitter or X, it's never sounded good. They're like, yeah, it's just
it's
really
not
good.
it's stress
It's
off,
awful,
and
but you
everyone's
need it.
really
It's
mean.
not.
You gotta have
and
it though.
You get canceled for no reason, and people are
Yeah.
just looking to take you down for fun. And you should make one though. You gotta have one.
Yeah.
And like,
But it's true.
yeah,
That's
just
very
sounds-
volatile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah,
looking to
I guess
dump
it's a
on someone.
miserable, terrible experience. You gotta get on there.
Just
It-
set
it-
it
I'm
to
proud of it,
set it to where
actually.
you only see posts from the people you follow, and it's pretty okay.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah,
it's pretty
it's-
dystopian otherwise.
Yeah.
You
it's
just- you
just the
like,
one.
You wake up
Especially-
and you just open the app and you just see people die.
Yeah, like literally executions right on camera, bro. It's like crazy.
I've seen.
Now,
I feel like
isn't porn officially sanctioned now? Didn't Elon
Yes.
Musk
Yeah.
thing
Yes.
saying like,
And it
You click
doesn't
on the
help.
video.
porn?
It
So
doesn't
maybe
help
we'll
the
get one.
fact that now there's do you know the dead internet theory? Do you know what
Yeah.
that
Oh
is?
Yeah.
god.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go
I'm
on
pretty
Twitter.
oblivious to most things.
Okay, all right. The dead internet theory is basically that like it's going to hit a point with the internet that you're no longer talking to a human. You're basically responding to bots, AI.
Yeah.
and a
Oh,
bunch of other
yeah,
bullshit.
okay.
Yeah,
No,
there's
that
way
makes
more
sense.
So-
than AI.
So
shout out
going
shout out
on to
All
Twitter
Time. There's
is
this
literally
YouTube
that.
channel called All Time that has pretty good videos on the dead
Yeah, I've
internet
seen-
theory.
I've
I
seen
would
that one.
recommend that.
Yeah, no. It sounds legit.
Yeah.
especially on
It is.
Twitter, like
Yeah, definitely
find a checkmarked account, click click the post, and then try to read the
Yeah.
first 10 replies without having it be another checkmark account. That's just a bot trying to get the
Yes.
pennies from the
Yeah.
posts.
Dude,
Okay.
Yes, dude.
Especially now
Yeah.
that posts are monetized.
Yeah,
Now
it's all just engagement
garbage.
farming. That's all it is.
Garbage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
There was some news.
We're probably pretty
recently
close,
about
honestly.
There was a UK presenter that recently went on holiday and he died, right? And I saw this post today. Someone said like, confirmed dead at like 50 or whatever. And then in the comments, it's all just a bunch of like OnlyFans bots saying like, "Oh,
Yep.
this is
Yes.
amazing!
Yeah,
Come
what
to
an
my-
amazing-
come to
yeah.
my like page or
Yeah.
whatever." And I'm
My
like,
fa-
"Oh, this is awful! This
Yeah.
is dystopian."
Well, they
Whenever
really
you hit-
yeah,
whenever
discrimination.
you hit show more replies, it's
Oh my gosh.
OnlyFans bots.
It's OnlyFans.
Do you guys get
bro.
do you guys get the messages from like fake Chinese women?
Yes,
yeah,
all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
yeah.
All
I'm not that
time,
lucky.
every day.
I gotta set my game up.
Dude,
The ones that I've seen that were my favorite, or they're on Facebook, and it's bad, but it's not as bad, it sounds like. But I see all the time the ones that are like, my relationship was struggling, but Dr. Mbembe, the greatest
yeah.
voodooologist in all of Kenya, is, and I
Yeah.
but I see them everywhere, exactly the same ones. And I'm like,
I'm
this
so
doesn't seem
surprised
like
you're
your
on
demo,
Facebook.
man. Like, I don't like this is a meme
Yeah.
compilation. I
Dude,
don't think
Facebook's
that's
just a
your
bunch of
people,
old
but
people complaining at this point. Like all
Yeah.
I see on
Or, like,
Facebook is
falling
a
for
bunch of
AI
boomers
images and
that are
stuff.
Just like
Have you
complaining
seen on
about-
Facebook those posts that are like obviously pictures of AI women?
Yeah, that's
And they're like,
God,
they're like,
yes.
I am UK woman,
Yeah.
need husband. And I'm
oh,
like,
dude,
dude,
they're insane.
who
It's
is
all, and it's just
believing
all
this?
old people being like, God bless from Ukraine or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like, and
it's
it's
like,
like,
and the
Jesus,
comments are old guys like, oh honey, you so beautiful, please message me,
yeah.
heart, and stuff like
There's-
that.
You don't need
I've
to
seen
feel like
some-
that, sweetheart.
I've
Yeah.
seen some where it's like it'll be like an African child, and they'll be
Oh my
like
gosh.
trying to assemble something from like bottle caps.
Yeah, please
but
leave
it's
a like.
clearly
Yep.
AI.
Yeah.
It's clearly AI, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like incredible.
Yeah.
Child makes water source from bottle caps.
My
and
father
it's like-
told me I was a disappointment. Like if you disagree.
And there's
Oh,
people
yeah.
there's people that are literally in the comments that are just like oh God
Oh,
bless, science
God
is
bless.
incredible, and it's like it's
100%
like,
serious.
It's fake.
Just like
It's
your
fake.
father sounds terrible. You are absolutely
like
not a
the-
disappointment.
Dude,
Have you seen
yeah.
like the poor impoverished kids with like
Yes,
their
dude.
legs blown
Like
off?
the legs and
and
arms
replace-
missing.
What?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
AI.
yeah.
I've not
Like-
seen this.
Dude, I get
They're
this
like
all the
AI
time.
I'm so
they're-
glad.
They're
that they
maimed, but
added
they're
a thing-
replaced with like hooks and stuff like
Yeah,
that, like
yeah.
Captain Hook
Yeah.
and stuff like
Well,
that.
I've seen like, especially in true crime for whatever reason. I'm glad that YouTube started adding that like declaratory whatever AI
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
because
yeah.
have you seen
Oh,
like the
man.
thumbnails, especially for true
Yes.
crime stuff that are
I have-
AI generated with like
I have made
babies
fun of those on
breaking
Twitter so
windows
much.
and
Yeah.
like swinging
Yes.
knives at cops
The
and
kids
shit,
screaming
and
in
it's like,
court,
Like,
you know?
it's little
It's
kids.
wild.
It's like little kids with clown face paint in a courtroom, like
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
and holding an assault rifle.
and like shackles
Yes.
and chains
Yes.
and it'll be
It's
like
so stupid,
craziest
though.
And
courtroom
like a
moments.
Hannibal
It's
Lecter
like,
mask
Jesus.
around some kid. Yes.
Yeah, it's it's
Dude,
wild.
and they have millions of views. Like
I
who is
know.
doing
Yes,
this?
well, that's
Dude.
the thing. I was wondering, like, since they've added that now, where you have to or are supposed to declare if AI was used, and I'm glad that honestly, I was surprised that they differentiated and explained that rule so well,
It was
because they
pretty
were like,
quick,
if it is
too.
used
Yeah.
in these specific ways, declare
Yeah.
it. Because I used AI in my last video to clean up the audio. And I was like, if I have to declare that, and
that's
apparently I know
okay,
AI is probably being taken as an inherently bad thing if you check yes on one of those. So like I was
Yeah.
worried that I was going to have
Yeah.
to qualify myself over that and have
No.
it hurt the video, but it doesn't qualify because they said like if it is someone's face saying something they didn't really say, or if it is depicting an event that didn't really happen, then you have to declare. So like the fact that they
It's
actually for
not
once
like-
explained it was cool. But
It's
yeah,
not
they're
like,
wild.
It's
Some
not
of them
like
are out of
image
pocket, man.
upscaling. Image upscaling is okay. Audio.
No, I do
stuff
that
is
too.
okay.
I do that too
Yeah.
because
Yeah, you got to.
interrogation videos, especially, are such shit quality.
bad.
most
It's
of the
like
time.
potato
they're
quality.
Yeah, I got a pretty good one for a couple $100 that I've been using the last like couple of months, and I
yeah.
use them for all my
Cop-
law and crime ones that I
Cops
sent
are
them.
still recording in 240p for some reason.
Yeah.
To
Very
this
I,
day.
I have
interesting.
no idea why. The amount
I
of
don't
money you
get it.
spend on cops like in the U.S., it's wild, especially. Like you think
Yeah.
How
they'd
do you
have
find a
4K
camera with
cameras
that bad of
in every
quality these
corner.
days? Like, how do you even?
Yeah, it's like
you
they
could go to
purposely
Walmart
downscale
and they're
it.
all 1080p.
Yeah.
How do
The
you find
first,
one that
like,
bad?
The first case that I ever actually like did exclusively, like contacted the department and got the footage and like got the documents and did it all on my own was
Oh,
the
yeah.
Gavin Smith one. And when I reached out to them, it was like a tiny town in West Virginia, and they sent me. Well, initially I had to mail them a check because they couldn't do an online payment of any sort.
Dude, that's
And they
small
didn't have
town.
like Venmo.
Yeah.
So I had to mail them a check in the mail, and then they sent me a DVD with the footage on it. And of course,
Wait, are
I
you
had
saying
just got a new
VHS?
laptop, and when I bought the laptop, there was the option for a DVD drive, and I was like, dude, I'm never gonna use a DVD. Like, what would I need that for? So
Did you have to
now,
buy
and I
an
still have
external
it here.
DVD drive?
I did. I bought this external USB DVD drive that I have used once to get that footage off the DVD, but now I have it because I doubt, like, you know, you were saying, like everyone knows, they all are like that. And in a
Yeah.
big city, you might get a little better. Like a lot can take the online payments and things like that, but anytime you really want an exclusive case, if you find something interesting that hasn't been done to death, it's going to be in those little towns, and they're going to operate that way, chances are.
Or it's a
So
PDF
yeah, but so I
with, like,
mailed them a
hundreds
check.
of
They mailed
pages,
me.
you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it took forever just for them to copy the DVD and send it out. But obviously it was worth it. That video did gangbusters and was nuts. But yeah, it's I can't believe that it's still the standard. And like I said, in a major like metropolitan city or something, it'll be better. But still, it's just government anything is so behind the curve. Government websites are so like slow.
Dude, they're in the
and Web
90s.
2.
Yeah.
It's nuts to me. They're
Speaking
way
of
behind.
Power going.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
just
Actually,
hard.
speaking of which, that's actually a perfect segue. Thank you, Fox. Kind of going a little bit to the to like the police recording in like 240p. I just sent you a photo of a thing that recently happened in Texas of this fucking police department
I saw that.
getting this massive emergency vehicle. I just put it in the chat if you want to see
What
it.
Yeah,
is
let's maybe not
It
show
is-
what I said in response to that.
Dude,
But,
It is,
show the
yeah.
screenshot.
It's,
It's like a mega Jeep.
it's nearly it's apparently
The
nearly
cowboy hat and
seven.
everything.
It's apparently nearly
dude.
$700,000.
Yeah.
But they
my
still
God.
record
Tank.
in like 2040 or 240, not 2040. That's
No,
240.
2040.
Jesus.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, still recorded in like 240 or doing exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying, Justin, and operating with these like primitive like,
Mailing
well, you
DVDs.
need to mail us a check, and then where it's like,
And we'll
okay.
send you a VHS tape. You know,
Like a
you know?
cassette tape, actually, from audio
I
recording.
wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised,
Yeah.
man. I'm sure it'll happen.
I'm
I mean,
sorry, we
Yeah,
only have
that's-
the
it's
we only
wild.
have the interrogation on a Betamax tape. Can you deal with that?
Well, so
You
it's
know.
and
Do you
it's,
accept
the thing is,
Laserdisc?
Yeah.
It's
Floppies.
it's
is that
wild
okay?
because even on the last two videos, technically the last case that I done done content on, you can see in the video that they don't even have a dedicated like audio recorder or anything. The dude every time, or the
Dude,
detective
yeah.
every time he comes back in to resume questioning, pulls out his phone, like his personal phone, and just you see him open voice recorder and set it on the table. But because of that, I was excited when I reached out and contacted them because I was like, okay, at least then I'll be able to get something that's dedicated because a lot of places won't even do that. It'll just be the audio from the
From
camera
webcam
in the
audio.
corner of the room.
Dude, yeah, it's
And
webcam
it's
audio.
brutal. And when I reached out, they literally told me that for some reason they didn't have it. They couldn't send it. So all I had was the audio from that. And that's what I was saying I used the AI for part of. I had to go through, and it's 6.5 hours. And I
Oh my
manually like had to do different mixes and just adjustments and whatever. Ended up with something like 12 audio tracks. A couple of them were AI, like that what is it? Adobe AI. Have you ever used that? If you haven't, it's really good for like isolating audio. It's like Adobe Podcast AI or something. But I did a couple through that. I did a couple other ones and just manually cleaned it. It took me like weeks. But yeah, you would think that it's like you couldn't even handle the phone recording. Like, what is going on over there? What are you doing with? And it was Flagstaff, Arizona, not like a super small town. Like it was, I
It's
was
just
kind of
straight up
surprised.
irresponsible. that
I wonder
someone-
how
gonna
much of that
move
is
there
like
at one point.
weaponized incompetence on their part. That way, if it does
Yeah.
arise when they're
Yeah,
asked, like they can say, "Oh well, our system doesn't allow us to record and save all this." So
And I mean, honestly, I think it's, at least in this case, was genuine because on the other hand, I also asked, like, there's one part in the interrogation where he has the suspect draw like a diagram on the back of a piece of paper. And I asked them in an email, I was like, is there any chance you have that? Like, did that get scanned in or do you still have that paper somewhere? And they had that and they sent me that and I was able to put it in the
Okay.
video. So like they're keeping that stuff, but the thing on the phone and I don't know. I have no
They don't have
idea
the
what- I
actual
mean, it's-
interrogation. They have a doodle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff it got left somewhere, deleted or whatever. But that stuff they totally still had. But I mean, it's just I have no idea. It seems like it's not a particularly standardized, like definitely not state to state, obviously.
No.
But even
it's
within,
not
it
even
just
city to
seems like a
city.
kind of whatever you want to do. Like, hey, try and keep important stuff, and like
Yeah.
that's it. So. I mean, I'm grateful that we have the access we do. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
again,
at
it's
least
just
we
like,
have
yeah,
that,
like you
but
said, it
still.
seems a
Yeah.
little irresponsible to
Yeah.
have stuff
yeah.
like that that's kind of important and just be like, oh yeah, sorry, we lost that.
Dude, what happens when
okay.
they get to the trial and they're like, I didn't save it. Sorry.
Yeah, and they're
You
just like,
know?
all right, well,
Luckily, the
what
judge
can you
has
do?
some audio AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So,
Exactly. Hit me up.
Yeah.
I'll fix it for you, and we can, government
Yeah.
has deep pockets. I'll do some of that.
Two
Check out Just Interrogations on YouTube. You can.
yeah. Fortunately,
Dude,
Justin
shameless
saved his
self-promotion.
trial because he was able to AI the audio. So now we know what he was saying.
I
Well, that
actually had a
was-
news
so-
article use my video as a summary once. That was pretty cool.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
wow,
I've
that's
seen
speed.
one or
Yeah.
two comments of people saying that they've seen videos from like creators and people on YouTube
Yeah,
used in
yeah.
cases or used like in official whatever, which is nuts to me. But
It
I
is,
guess
it's
if
crazy.
you're presenting the right stuff and they use it in the right context,
Mhm.
that's my job, is to summarize and basically put stuff into layman's
Yeah.
terms and make it
Yeah.
easier to understand. So for a
Yeah.
jury, like that's what you want to do, I would imagine. Make it
Probably.
easy to understand. So I could see it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad we have access, but I feel like it could there's room for improvement for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It would be
Definitely glad to
wild
have it,
if
though.
your video was like the difference between someone getting off the hook and getting convicted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is if like juror
It's-
number 4 was like, oh well, based on the Just Interrogations video,
He made a pretty
fucking
funny joke.
guilty.
He's guilty, dude. Yeah.
Won me
Yeah.
over. That was a funny quip you did.
Imagine if it's your
Now-
AI enhancement that gets the guy off or something because they couldn't prove it before.
Yeah, they couldn't, but now
Like,
they can.
Dude, this
I mean, I'll
audio
tell you,
quality is
like-
ass. What did he really say? I don't know. We can't prove it.
If I were to ever be the singular thing to distort our impeccable, perfect justice system and the fact that they get it right every time, if I were to be responsible for messing that up, I don't know if I'd be able to sleep at night. But I mean, at the same time, I'm sure I could help and clear up some confusion, especially if the cops are deleting stuff off their phones.
Have you ever been worried
You
that
never
would
know.
get like Cape Feared one day? Like one of the criminals gets out and then like they instantly see that
man.
you made a video about their interrogation. They're like, I'm gonna take him
So
down.
I have
The
that fear
thing that
sometimes.
I've sort of made sure to do is it's just like, okay, so like I think part of the reason that people like interrogation videos, but true crime videos as a whole, is like people love an easy villain to root against.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
there's no easier villain than someone who's like already been convicted and sentenced and
Yeah.
confirmed and proven to have like murdered their family or something.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
always make sure to pick someone who like there's no ambiguity. There's not
They
going to
did
be
it.
any last minute like you're the asshole now because guess what? They were framed. Like I make sure to pick one that's like dead, done, sealed, over, handled, finished. Maybe
Yeah.
there will be like some crazy last minute reversal, but so far nothing's happened yet. I'm sure I just jinxed myself. But
Someone
even when
storms
as
into the
far as the
courtroom.
Robert Fratta one, he was executed already. So like I don't think there's gonna be any last minute.
Yeah,
sort
you
of
know, when they're
reversals
dead, it's
there.
kind of set in stone unless we get into.
Yeah,
Well,
but I
that's
mean,
the
it's jokes.
ghosts and
Like if you
such.
Oh,
just
not all
pick
the
like
time.
very easy, definitive villains who are already guilty and are already clearly pieces of shit. Like, I doubt that anyone's gonna get out and do anything about it, and I doubt you're really gonna have any people upset about you ripping on them a little bit and pointing out how much of a piece of shit they are,
Well, you know,
because it's
one-
already
one
been proven
comment-
in a court of law that they killed their kid or something.
Oh no,
One
So it's just
comment
like
that
I
I
don't
get
think a lot of
pretty
people are gonna be
often-
like, "Hey, buddy, don't say that about that
Yeah,
mom.
yeah.
She tried." It's just
I
like,
don't
nah, man.
mean in terms of the audience. I mean in terms of like the person who gets
The
out.
person that,
They-
but I
they
mean,
go
again,
on
it's people
YouTube
who
and
aren't gonna get out.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, they just don't
Yeah,
care.
barring
Yeah.
some major, surprise twist, some M. Night Shyamalanian, guess what thing, I'm pretty safe as far
Dude, they
as,
break out of
the amount
prison
of
and they're like,
murders.
I'm gonna kill this asshole just in interrogations.
Just this
for
one
Only
guy.
Justin. Just this one.
Screw the judge, screw
one.
the jurers. Just interrogations is
it
on the
was
top of
all
my
me.
list. They're actually gonna see this
so-
podcast
on-
where you
well,
said it's not
honestly,
gonna
if-
happen.
If
And
it
they're
ever
gonna do it for
happens,
that.
I hope one of you make a really good video about it, because that would
I
be a
promise
wild set
I
of
will.
Kyle's on it.
circumstances
Yeah,
and
yeah.
would
I
make for a
promise.
Kyle's got
very
it, bro.
engaging story.
I have
Yeah.
a policy just to make videos about people from Texas who obviously get 300 years in prison. So I know they'll never
Dude,
get out.
what was
Yeah.
it like
Hey.
the guy who shot up a theater in The Dark Knight Rises got like 3,500 years or something?
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
insane.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the easy villains that you can go after with complete confidence. You're not going to have to worry about.
Someone does that over here, they get 3,500 minutes. I swear down.
Yeah, dude.
Dude,
Y'all
people
got something
joke
going on
about-
over there, bro. I ain't sure on that.
People
Dude,
rip on the
sometimes-
UK
Yeah.
legal system in my comments all the time.
It
Like,
is.
I covered a case from the UK today, the Jake
Yeah.
Davison case, because this will get uploaded at some other point. But it's full of just
Yeah.
comments like, "I'm surprised he got arrested at all."
First of all,
Yeah.
I will say that comparatively, it is less because anything compared to what you guys have is going to be like less.
I was going to say, yeah, compared to the US, because that's
Yeah.
a high
Yeah,
bar.
but
Yeah,
compare
no.
you compare it to like Sweden or something where like their prisons
Yeah.
are like our university accommodation, and it's just like
They're sensible.
Is
You
it
know,
Norway that's like an apartment, basically?
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
It's
some
wild.
people over here
Like
would rather
single
be in
single
Norwegian
bedroom
prison.
apartments.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
nice. Got little
Sometimes.
meditation areas and
Yeah, you're by yourself. You got a bathroom and stuff. It's
Yeah.
wild.
I think the UK in the modern day has found itself kind of between like Europe and the US and stuff in terms of almost anything, in terms of it's too extreme for Europe and too lax for the US.
Yeah.
I don't know though, because I would say like, because I guess like prison and justice is like it's inherently a political
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And the UK
Oh,
we have had a conservative party leading the country for 14 years now, and you would think that the Conservative Party would be the one, like, I'd say if the Republicans had been in for 14 years, you would assume that like probably sentences and stuff would probably
Yeah,
be a
they
bit
bring
higher
back
and stuff,
firing
like,
squads and shit.
right. Yeah.
whereas
That's what you would think.
you
But I'm not
so-
sure that's actually in practice the truth.
But I think in terms
think it's
of
really
like
the truth.
justice and stuff, I think that like usually the more conservatives more like punishment, whereas the more liberals more like reform, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
Generally,
Yeah.
generally, like that's
Honestly, yeah.
perhaps the idea. So we have had like a a conservative government in, and I would say that people might argue that these days crime is like not punished so much. And honestly, I could not tell you why, because I don't know that much about the UK like justice system. It just seems as though like someone murders someone else and they get like less than 10 years or something.
Yeah.
Which to
It's
some
just an
people might be
inherently
a
subjective
fair.
thing.
So yeah, to some people it might be a fair punishment. To others, it's
Yeah,
like
it's-
nowhere near enough.
How do you do something and like mandate something so subjective on such a huge level as like a country? It's always going to be different and just
Especially when there's
cultural
context
thing.
and
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
the context and stuff matters.
reasoning. Like, was it
Yeah.
self-defense? Was it a fight?
It's
Was
trying
it
to like apply a universal standard to something that is inherently case by case and different every time, and that's why
exactly?
it's
Yeah, it can't
such
just
a
be you kill a
clusterfuck.
person, you are sentenced to death, because there could be any reason
Yeah.
that you're doing
Yeah.
that. Not that I'm promoting
that's
it.
like-
I'm just
yeah.
saying,
Well, no, and like the second video that I ever did was the Thomas Chan one about the kid who had a bad trip and killed his dad. And
That's
most
weird.
of the comments on there are people mad that like he didn't get life in prison forever and sentenced to death and think he wasn't punished hard enough. He was in solitary confinement for like months and ended up ultimately spending a couple years, I think, in like prison. And this was in Canada. But yeah, a majority of the comments are from people from America who are like, so you can just murder in Canada and you just nothing happens if you're, messed up when you do it. I'm like, yeah, man, you totally watched. Like but
It's like you
people are
did
also gonna
it.
get
You
what they want
found
out of
it.
stuff
You
like
did
that.
it. Yep.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. Good job.
I
Yeah.
would say that like right now, I think from what I heard is like that there's not been enough money put into the prison system and stuff, and prisons are full. That's what I heard. Is that not like right now
Yeah.
a lot of people are getting out of
Well,
prison
it's
early
full here.
because there's just
that
not
took
enough
place in
space.
a.
Suck 'em in.
That was a factor in the video I uploaded today. They were like,
Yeah.
prisons are full. We're backed up since COVID. Just go
Yeah,
into a
yeah.
reform program. Get out of here.
From what I've heard is that they're now like, oh, we just don't have enough prison space. So if you've
Yeah.
kind of done something that's maybe a little bit kind of over the line, they'll just kind of like let you out or something because there's going to be someone who's done something a bit more extreme that they'd rather chuck in there.
So there ends up being a tier
all
list.
relative.
Yeah,
criminals.
Exactly. It's all,
I think it might just be
depending
like
on
a
if there's
thing.
been any murders today, you might be able to smoke weed.
I
but
think
Yeah.
it might
it's been a
just be
slow
like,
day.
People in
You're in
masks
trouble.
today. Well, you
Like-
can have a stogie, so it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's
I guess the reason might just be a lot more boring than like an interesting kind of cultural factor and stuff. It might just be
Yeah, anything like that's
It's
gonna
money.
have a million and one reasons.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
Well, it's
yeah.
the
mostly like
nature of it.
money, probably, with the whole
Yeah.
prison system being
Yeah.
overflowed
Well, yeah, you
and
could also
probably
say that
underfunded.
everything is eventually gonna be money.
Eventually.
Why?
Yeah.
Eventually it'll get to
That's the
money.
American way now, ain't it?
Yeah,
Everything
always
goes
has been,
to money.
always will.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh man.
Because I'll always have people from Japan ask me, like, in America, why do you do this? And I'm like, money.
Money.
Like, it comes
Yeah,
back to everything.
man.
Sweet money.
Yeah. They're like, why do you
Money,
charge so
money.
much for rent? And I'm like, people like
Money.
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 You
Because
know?
I want money.
Yeah,
They want
because
money.
they can, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the Japanese are pretty extreme with their capitalism too, though, aren't they? Like they
Not-
work like 80-hour
well,
weeks and stuff. Like that is
Yeah,
through
but they
the
also get
A
grapevine.
paid
different
a lot
sense, I would
less.
think, though.
They also
That's
get
true,
paid a
yeah.
lot less for
Yeah.
the work that they do, so it's kind of a weird sort of capitalism.
Yeah, it's like a
yeah, you
masochistic
Yeah.
capitalism.
Masochism
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
guys are,
New
like,
official
the
term
most
just
capitalist
dropped.
country, but
Masochism, capitalism.
Yeah.
you guys can
Definitely
make
will.
pretty serious money and stuff. Even comparatively
yeah.
to like a lot of Europe and stuff. Like I think,
But the
average
rent
GDP in
is so
the
much
US
higher. The cost of living is higher.
Depends
you
where
know.
you
In
are.
cities, in cities,
It
depends on where you
'cause
are, yeah,
where I
yeah.
live, it ain't nothing. I'm
No.
telling you right
Hell
now,
yeah.
it's cheap in Kentucky.
That's why you
man.
see all these YouTubers moving to
What's your home
Texas,
address?
places like that.
Oh yeah, it's
'cause,
actually.
Please
Yeah.
drop it now.
Dude, I saw some
Yeah.
other YouTuber who was in Kentucky recently. I can't remember who it was, but when they mentioned that, I was like, oh, huh.
Yeah, nice.
You
I
know?
don't know if any other
Yeah.
ones. There's just like redneck guy that
Tennessee,
does it, but
Kentucky, it's just cheaper.
Tennessee could be the move, low key. I love Tennessee.
I
so
hear that
it's right
Texas
there.
has really low income tax, so if you work online, it's the way to
Yeah.
go.
Florida has no income
Texas is
tax,
really
and
hot.
Tennessee has no sales tax, which is nice.
I think
so.
with
That's
Texas,
probably
it's
why.
there's no income tax, but taxes obviously come out through other things. So like we might have
Yeah.
like I think it's either low or none income tax. I forget, but we have like exorbitant property tax. So
So
yeah.
it's probably a game of plus and minus when you
Yeah, it's
kinda
yeah,
figure it
that's
out.
tough.
It's a
And
scale.
I figure
Yeah.
everywhere it'll roughly balance out, but it's just which one to your thing is particularly the most beneficial. I'm in
What do you
PA
care
and it's
about?
all
Yeah.
right, but again, it's very dependent on like city or suburb, whatever.
Well, for me, it's
I
like
just I have to
like in
stay here,
Japan,
man.
they make less, so everything costs less. Which for me, I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
going to be
Oh,
paid
really?
in US dollars. So for me, there's no reason
Yeah.
not to, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
Yep.
the way to do it, man.
Yeah,
That's the way to play it for sure.
it-
Yeah, it's
financially, it
YouTube
just
stuff
works out.
is wild. It's like I was saying before, like just comparatively, because I don't have like any secondary education or anything. So my biggest prospect at the time before was, the vape store. And YouTube's afforded me the opportunity. Like I said, I finally am gonna have my own space now and I can set up,
Yeah.
my own area. And like a lot of stuff's become possible since I started the channel that wasn't even on my radar a year before that. And like
Yeah,
and it's
like
been
having an
awesome.
office.
And
Yeah.
yeah, circumstances like that, it's wild. And again, that's a great opportunity because it does afford you the chance to do some cool shit. And being in Japan and still getting US YouTube money, that's another way to do it, man. It's awesome.
And that's why you pay it forward and you network and you help
damn
people
right.
out.
Especially like you said, if there's room, why wouldn't you want to like hook the homies
No.
up and be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
get in here,
exactly.
man.
Yeah.
You're very
like,
well
it's-
spoken for someone who doesn't have. Did you say secondary education?
Yeah, I graduated high school. That's as
Yeah,
far
I
as-
think
There
he
we
did.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I
very
don't
well
have any
spoken
fancy
nonetheless.
qualifications for anything, and I always lead with that. It says it all over my channel. And anytime anyone asks, like, what's your background? I'm like, the most professional psychological experience that I have is like, I've been in therapy for a long time. I don't know if that counts, but maybe through osmosis, just some of that is rubbed off. But yeah, no, I got nothing, man. So as far as like potential prospects, it was either something where you just had to have something that you could take advantage of and work your way into. And I had always done video editing as a hobby. And that's why when this whole genre popped off, I was able to see, and it wasn't even just when JCS started, it was when the knockoffs started happening. And I saw the numbers they were getting that I was like, I can get close to that. I know
Dude,
that
I
I can get in
actually
that ballpark. And
Yeah, I actually started with
so
Flash
happened to work out.
cartoons. I knew how to video
Yeah,
edit
yep.
because I used to make Flash cartoons.
That's all
So-
like on Newgrounds.
Yes, it was Newgrounds. Yeah, it actually was.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm old as
That's
shit.
what's up. Yeah, I was just always dicking around with my friends, and that's a big reason why I still use Vegas to edit my videos.
A lot of
That's
people
my
do.
next challenge, is to move on and maybe do like DaVinci or
Dude, I use
some
Filmora. You're
Adobe
fine.
products.
Yeah, I use Filmora and I love it, bro. I use
Yeah.
After Effects
Dude,
sometimes for
yeah.
like bigger projects, but Filmora just does what I need it to do.
It's actually pretty good.
I think it is.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
all are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing though, is I spend a lot of time like really caught up in just like, I'm not a pro unless I'm using a pro software, and like just letting stuff like that kind of affect me. And that was a big part of the first year, was like making sure I had like the right equipment, and like it took me a while to come
Yeah.
around to just like, actually it doesn't matter how you
People
get
don't
there
see your
because it's
software.
working so far.
Yeah.
People see the
best,
exported
like,
video. They don't know what software you use.
Yeah.
and that's the thing. The average viewing, like
They do
person on the
not
internet isn't
care.
gonna give a shit.
No.
They just care about how it comes out. Like
Like,
the
is the
best
audio
video
all
that-
right? Okay.
the-
Audio is the biggest thing.
well, and that's
think
the
the
thing.
audio's-
That was
yeah.
the big one that I have no experience in and have had to
I
pick
didn't
up
either.
is audio.
Yeah.
Like I had nothing. I had some video, I had some like writing, I had some like analytical, I had most of the other pieces, at least a little familiarity, but audio is still the hardest one. And
Like,
that was why I was again grateful that pretty much the first piece of advice that I got as far as that kind of stuff is get a good mic.
get a good
Because
mic.
for that
Yeah,
first
invest.
video, and
Yeah,
you
invest
can
in a good mic.
tell,
Most.
I actually
I was
promised.
using like a $40
Yeah,
Amazon USB microphone.
I actually
that
promised
sounded
my
like
viewers
trash.
that my first Patreon check would go to getting a better mic, and they came
That
through
was
with
what I
it.
did. My first like
And
YouTube
very first
check.
Patreon. Yeah.
I
It
got
was
a
my
good
very
deal
first
on
like
a
$200 from Patreon. Just went
SM7B.
to a good mic. Yeah.
Yep, I got an SM7B and a Dynamite preamp for I think $300 on Facebook Marketplace.
SM7B
the
is the
bundled
move.
together, and
Best mic
yep,
out there,
I think
my
I got
opinion.
like $350 for my first check or something. So I was just like, yep, straight there. And
it pays
sure
off.
enough,
It's an
right
investment.
now, yeah. Right
Well,
now I'm using a
especially
Rode
because-
NTG5, which I really like.
I still got
because
the Blue
it gives you
Yeti.
decent quality, but it doesn't have to be right, like sort of in your face. But yeah, so I've had to pick that up entirely. I use like Adobe Audition to edit now. I'm getting more comfortable with that, but and it's so convoluted, man. And if you don't have any kind of baseline, you have just tutorials. Everything's tutorials.
Yeah, everything on
tutorials,
YouTube, it's just a
spoofing it.
lifesaver.
No matter what
Yeah,
you do,
it's
there's an
great.
Indian guy who knows how to do it better. And he can
Literally.
show you
There
the
is
way.
an Indian guy with like
Yes.
80 subscribers and 40 views who has the exact specific problem you do right
Yep.
now,
Mhm.
and he will tell you
Mhm.
how to fix it.
You gotta love that guy.
I do. That
Yeah.
again, that guy's a big part of why I'm
I
here.
owe a lot to
My
that guy.
friends, it works. You just
So
gotta
is there
have the
Closing
drive.
statement that you have, any final word that you wanna get in?
So not really. I mean, I would just sort of say, my major thing at the moment is for the last 7 or 8 months, have been dealing with a lot of real life stuff. So I haven't been uploading at all, really. I made the mistake of putting out the video before all that sort of happened, was a part 1. And I ended it with like, in a couple of weeks, I'll be back.
Oh no.
And
Yeah,
didn't
rookie
play
mistake.
out that way.
Yeah, you can't
And
do
after
that.
about a month or two, I at least had the foresight to go in the editor and clip that out so that it's not as blatant anymore. But before that, I was like monthly, month and a halfly.
Yeah.
But so it's been 8 months, and my latest video, I'm super proud of it, super happy with it. It came out awesome. It's probably my best one, in my opinion. And I just knew it was going to get slammed. So if it sounds interesting, maybe check it out. My channel is Just Interrogations, youtube.com/@justinterrogations.
Yeah, we'll put the thumbnail of that video up on here.
Yeah.
We'll shout it out.
And it's just, but going forward, I'm at a place now where I've handled the business that was the hang up for the past 8 months. I'm in a better place myself. I actually have a couple people on board now to help me out with some different parts of the production
good.
process that I'm very
Awesome.
grateful
It
for.
makes it a lot
It's
easier,
sort of
for
because
sure.
before I was everything. I was every inch of every
As
video.
we all were.
We've
So
been there.
now-
We've all been
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Of
Where
course.
are we at?
That's the
It
way,
sucked.
like, I think if your heart's in it, that's the way you kind of got to start and make sure that you
Yep.
can handle it. And then,
Yeah.
but now I'm at a point where, because initially I really was just like, it'll always be all me. I'm so perfectionisty that if I don't do every inch, then I'm not gonna be happy. But
Yep.
no, now
That's
I'm
a
at a
stressful
point
way to
Been
go
there,
about it,
we've all
though.
been there.
yeah, now I'm much happy. So I have some people to take some of the weight off. I'm aiming to get back to around where I was, releasing a video every month, month and a half, somewhere around there. The ultimate goal is to get on maybe a monthly or just some kind of consistent schedule.
Well, your
that's what
videos
I'm
are pretty
working
long
for.
too, so that's
Yeah, it'll
reasonable.
tide people over.
Yeah,
That's
and
like
I've
the
tried
next
the
go
like
route.
in between shorter video thing, and it doesn't play as well. I think people are there for that content and are
Yeah.
willing to wait.
Yeah.
Like everyone who's like seen the video since and has been super excited and happy that I'm back. So I lucked out with a really cool audience and really cool friends like you guys who have been nothing but supportive. And I'm super lucky there. It's just the algorithm doesn't care. So you kind
Yeah.
of gotta
Yeah,
contend with
don't
it.
get me
Yeah.
started about the algo. Yeah,
Gotta be
But
consistent.
yeah, so I'm gonna have some videos coming. I have a couple in the pipeline already. And yeah, so the latest video is my current pride and joy, but hopefully within a couple of weeks, I'll have something else new out. Not a part 2 or a follow-up, something unique and interesting and get the ball rolling again. But there is more
will have-
content coming. It's on the way. Just
Always.
Interrogations on YouTube, and I have a website too. I'll give you the link for that has literally
We'll put it up there.
everything else
Yep.
that I'm associated with, all in one place. I have like a podcast and all kinds of other stuff right now that
Awesome,
you can find all
awesome.
there. So
Definitely.
In that case, Caden, do you want to
Yep.
sign us out?
Yeah, I'll
Yep.
sign this out.
As
thank
usual,
thank
give
you
us-
for having me. Thank you for letting me
Oh,
be
yeah,
on here
of
and
course.
giving me the platform. It was
Of
awesome
course.
to sit and chat
Super
with you
dope.
guys.
Certainly,
We'll have you back
absolutely.
sometime.
Oh, definitely. There will be
I'm
another
down.
Yeah,
Another time.
There
absolutely.
will be more.
Another time for the rotation.
Of
Yes,
course.
Yes.
absolutely.
Hey, I'm here. I don't go anywhere or do anything.
Me either. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Just working.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, big thank you to Justin for once again joining us today. Lovely having you on, man. I'm glad that whatever you were going through has gotten sorted, and now you can get back to regular uploading. Excited to see what you have down the pipeline. I think you're going to make some awesome stuff. So that'll bring us to the end of today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with your grandma. I bet she's dying to see
Oh yeah.
this episode.
She's dying to hear it.
So make sure you send it everywhere and show some love to the NBR channel. You guys have a good one and take care.
Bye-bye.